Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today we're going to continue with our Missing Character series, where we'll discuss their lore, their rules on the tabletop, and how they could be translated into Total War Warhammer. Today's character is Drycha, so without further ado, let's begin. To better introduce this character to those who might not be aware of her, we'll read over her entry into the 8th edition Wood Elf Army book. Drycha, Briar Maven of Woe. Long ago, Drycha held court amongst the roots of a Davok, the once glorious creature known in recent times as the Tree of Woe. Most believe that Drycha lost her mind when Morgur's death tainted the ground forever, but in truth, she was capricious and malevolent for many long years before that tragedy. Drycha remembers well the days before the coming of the Elves, and has ever rued the folly that shackled the forest to mortal whim and fate. She rarely converses with others, even the dryads who serve her as handmaidens, but instead chants a mantra of the names of those fellow spirits whom she believes have been failed by the elves. As old as Drycha is, she still possesses a crystal clear memory, and it is doubtful that she will ever reach the end of her tally. New names are added with every battle between Athelloren and the outside world. In the early years of the alliance between the elves and the forest, Drycha was ever in evidence about the glades and the groves, watching the elves and examining their every action for any sign of betrayal. She has been seen little in the years since Morgur's blood was spilt upon her glade, though she is known to communicate with Coedil, a treeman of great age and power, and serves as his herald, while the great being lies shackled in the depths of the wildwood. Such a thing cannot help but provoke unease, for Coedil's distrustful attitude of the Wood Elves is legend. He is so incredibly ancient that it is difficult to ascertain his motivation, for Coedil has forgotten more than many younger beings, the elves included, will ever know. If these two embittered spirits have found common cause as it appears, it can only be a matter of time before the balance of Loren Forest is thrown into disarray. In recent years, strange tales have come to Athelloren, worrying rumors of Drycha's activities. On the fringe of the great Drakwold forest in the Empire, the peasants tell stories of the trees that come alive, hungry for blood. On the edge of the Forest of Arden in Bretonnia, villagers gather only deadwood for their purposes, citing tales of other settlements found ruined and torn, the inhabitants left as scraps of tattered meat by the vengeance of the trees. To many, these events seem as senseless as they are apparently random, but if indeed they are the work of Drycha and her handmaidens, there must surely be a greater goal behind them than mere slaughter. Though what the goal is remains to be seen. Alas, even Naef, the prophetess, cannot see the destination for which Drycha strives, for the road leading there is hidden by blood and horror. That was a basic introduction to Drycha, a rather interesting character in the Wood Elf Army list roster, considering that, well, she doesn't like the Wood Elves whatsoever. A curiosity for most, and in my opinion a pretty strong contender for a possible legendary lord character, or maybe legendary hero, in an upcoming or maybe even far future Wood Elf DLC. Before we speculate how she can be added in as a possible legendary character in Total War Warhammer, let's talk about how she was in the tabletop. Stat-wise, Drycha herself was fairly decent. She had a moderate movement range, decently high weapon skill, mid to high strength and toughness values, and fairly high initiative and attack values. Drycha is a level 2 wizard who knows spells from the Lore of Shadow, so in this case she would know all the spells from the Lore of Shadow, as we don't really have any wizard levels being implemented in Total War Warhammer, barring the unlocking of skills of course. Now, in terms of special rules, she did indeed have some generic ones: Blessing of the Ancients, Fear, Forest Spirit and Hatred, all of which could be considered common rules throughout the Wood Elf Army book. However, she does have some special rules specifically created for her. Fanatical Resolve, Each time Drycha suffers an unsaved wound, her attack characteristic increases by 2 for the remainder of the battle. Each time she regains a wound lost earlier in the battle, her attack characteristic decreases by 2 for the remainder of the battle. So how could this be translated into Total War Warhammer? Rather simply, I'd imagine. The more damage she takes, the more damage she does, and should she get healed during the battle, she'll lose attack characteristics. This would be rather interesting, as normally these types of treekin were not built for hand-to-hand combat. However, it would make for an interesting new addition, and obviously as a legendary character, this would make her fairly unique. A melee spellcaster hybrid which you would have in your front lines and not worry too much as she took damage. Her other special rule was known as Rouse to Wrath. Now, we're not going to cover the whole thing as it is a very large rule, but go over some specifics. When you deploy, you may choose D3 units wholly composed of models with the Forest Spirit special rule. These are not deployed at the start of the game, but are rather slumbering somewhere on the battlefield. After which you would do a roll for each unit and see where they would deploy. This was a unique take on the Ambusher and Vanguard special rules, where you would be able to deploy anywhere as long as there were forests. And of course you got the result needed on the dice. Honestly, in an effort to keep things balanced, I'd say that any forest spirits in Drycha's army would have the Vanguard special rule. It wouldn't be specific to just maps with, for example, forests, or else if you found yourself fighting in terrain with no forests, you would have no access to your special rule. Unfortunately, she really didn't have that many unique special rules, but I believe that that's a good basis to start upon. But how exactly could she be implemented in a unique way for Total War Warhammer? Well, in my honest opinion, I believe that she's better suited as a legendary lord. She herself would be exiled from Athaloran and could be practically anywhere as long as there are dense forests. Coadil, the ancient tree spirit, could act as her advisor and set her upon a task to hopefully expel the elves from Athaloran. Maybe in a way to make her more unique, since we are aware that the Total War Warhammer timeline and that of Games Workshop are completely different, there could be an element of choice, where she could work with Coadil in an effort to expel the elves, or find herself redeemed by some way, shape or form. Her madness cured, and now she works alongside the elves in an effort to protect the forests. Either way, I believe she should have no access to any wood elf units, only treekin, and for that maybe Creative Assembly and Games Workshop could work together in an effort to flesh out her roster, as obviously right now running a full treekin army isn't really competitive. However, it could also be done in a different way, where she would have a 50% reduction to upkeep costs for any tree spirits and a 50% addition to any upkeep costs for any wood elf units. The character itself has got a lot of potential, purely because she is fairly unique in terms of lore. For all intents and purposes, she is part of the wood elf roster, but since she dislikes them so much, she won't work alongside them. On the tabletop, however, you could field her with wood elves. However, in Total War Warhammer, some creative changes can be done. Think of how most sub-factions now are so drastically different from one another. The perfect example would be the Skaven. I personally quite like this character, and I would be rather interested to see her implemented into the Total War Warhammer series. But what do you guys think? Do you think Drycha has a chance to be implemented into this game series? If so, do you think she will be a legendary lord or a legendary hero? And how do you think she could be implemented into the game, including mechanics and so on? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.